How are you? Hope you're doing okay. Is reading books starting to become boring for you? Are you weird? Do you like to read about weird shit? Because if it is, I got you. It is 2 in the morning and I'm filming this. I've been starting to get more and more into psychological thrillers, and especially this year I've read a few questionable choices. So I had accumulated a small little list of the weirdest books, not just weird books, but truly and honestly, and to be fair, just books that kind of made me want to rip my skin off of my bones. Before I start this video though, trigger warning, subject matters in these books may be triggering to a few people. These books talk about cannibalism, necrophilia, abused childhood abuse, things along those lines, and even dives into severe mental health issues, psychosis, schizophrenia, and grief and losing people. So if things like this trigger you, please don't watch the video. Tampa follows Celeste Price, who is a teacher that recounts within this book her sociopathic and psychotic attempts at seducing her middle school students, and especially the seduction of one specific student. The book reads as a journal, her inner thoughts and her behavior and everything that she does before, during, and after the entire process of her picking up a victim. I didn't know how I felt about this book while reading it, but I had to change my perspective, and when I did, I understood that it is a very important book, as it doesn't romanticize anything. It is not a Lolita case. It is brutal. It is disgusting. It is vile. It is absolutely heartbreaking to read about. However, it's incredibly important because it highlights the manipulation process of Celeste. It highlights everything that is important about cases like this. The writing, the word choosing, the structure of it, the writing was absolutely genius. The building of the characters was vile. Like, I hated it. There were some scenes that were so freaking detailed, physical scenes that were detailed, and they made me want to stop reading multiple times, and I had to push through it, and I did. The writing is absolutely exquisite. The similarities between Tampa and books like Lolita are just shallow. Most prominent subject matter of the book is the same thing. However, the execution of them is completely different. With Lolita, we have romanticism, we have a nymph-esque situation happening that people do romanticize because of how it's written. It's written in a way that wants you to romanticize it. This one does not do that at all. It is freaking disgusting. Whenever I told people in my book group that I liked this book, I had a lot of people telling me that it's psychotic. How can you get, like, turned on to this book and stuff like that? And my question to you is, if you read this book and you get turned on by this book, do you think that's okay? Do you think that's like the purpose of it? This is not like an erotica. This is specifically made to highlight this specific subject. So if you have people in your life that have read this book and have liked it too much, call the police. This one I only recently read. I was so surprised by it, like so immensely surprised by it. I absolutely loved it. So this is The Immaculate by Mark Morris. It follows such a cliche plot and such cliche characters and such cliche storyline and such a cliche narrative, to be honest. But it feels like the sauce. It feels like the canon. It feels like this is why these things have become cliche, if that makes any sense. The Immaculate follows a very successful horror thriller writer, Jack Stone. After he gets a call from his home, he has to pick everything up and abruptly move back to his childhood home, where he had suffered a lot and went through a lot. And when we go back to his home, we go back and forth between timelines and between different POVs of him being a child and him now currently, and we know more about his childhood and the trauma that he had went through, which was a lot, like severe bullying and being raised by an abusive alcoholic father. The book leads you to believe that Jack Stone is fine that he's just grown out of it. He had found his passion in life. He has become an author and doing something that makes him so happy while, you know, financially stable and all that. However, while the book recounts the traumatic things that had happened to Jack, it also tells us after every chapter, when we go back to his childhood, the effects of those traumatic events. And I loved so much how that was done. Every time we go back in time and we learn of a traumatic event, we come back to the present with Jack now and progressing in such a slight, sneaky little slithery way that I absolutely loved. Old house is more or less as he remembers it, and as the intervening years in London quickly fall away, he starts to feel at home. But something is wrong. Soon old memories he would just as soon forget, start to take on a physical manifestation. The book presents itself as not just a psychological thriller, but a paranormal thriller. And to that I say, I would not spoil anything, but it is so much more than that. It is a paranormal, but a mental health tethered paranormal. Plus, there was something that jumped at me with this book, which is the depiction of violence and various cases of violence. It absolutely took me back and bewildered me in the most beautiful way ever. The structure of violence in this book and the various kinds of violence that we had in this book and how they were introduced to us and constructed and structured and talked about and presented to us. I absolutely loved it. We find here violence for the sake of violence, violence out of necessity, and violence that is inherited in our blood, and why those things had happened in the most slight, genius, well-written way. It doesn't just tell you in a self-helpy way, oh, this happened, so now I'm gonna do this to retaliate. This is my repartie to this event that had happened. It never does that. The way it does it is so smooth and so silky that you don't even realize what you're reading until you're done, and you understand that, oh, this amount of years of this amount of abuse had made this person do this. I understand now. And then you see that in real life, which was fascinating to me. I Have No Mouth and I Must Scream by Harlan Ellison. The title alone breeds despair and hopelessness in my body. I don't know about you, but the way that I process things, it manifests physically, and this title is one of those things because it's not just words. Imagine that. And the writing, I'm jumping ahead way too quickly. This absolutely unique piece of literature follows 5 people and one all-knowing, powerful deity. This deity is a type of machine that is torturing these 5 people for eternity. And this all-powerful machine had made these 5 people survive for over 100 years now, just to be able to torture them over and over and over and over and over and over. And it's freaking insane and psychotic, and the way it makes me feel, the way it had made me feel, I implore you to not read this book but listen to it. You can find it for free on YouTube right now. The author reading his own book, he's done an incredible job with this book, and he's done an amazing, incredible job reading the book. It's so unhinged. These people are starving. They are starved. They are being severely mentally and verbally and physically tortured and abused, and they are in immense physical pain, but they still won't die because this machine, that plot twist they have made, disallows them to die. The author also speaks to the reader directly and breaking that fourth wall within the book, and it made me feel so suffocated, and it would take me back every time it had happened. And the way it's presented from their POV and from this deity's POV, this machine POV, who's called Am, by the way, is absolutely just draining, just physically draining. Vicariously abusive, to be honest. Am could not wander, Am could not wonder, Am could not belong, he could only be. That was so sad out of nowhere, and it just made me take a step back and actually start the book all over again. I had actually read the book, I think 3 times. I read just a digital version, a digital copy, and then I had listened to the book, which is the best way to go about it, in my opinion, especially again from the author. The author reading the book was a masterpiece, and I had went back and restarted the book with a different perspective, because these people had made this machine. It reminded me heavily of anything Orwellian, so aggressively realistic, where I can see this happening easily. Actually, I can see this happening within the upcoming 30 something years, 50 years, and it's insanely scary to read. It's scary as in, oh, I feel like humanity is in the process of going here. I kind of want to die before that happens. I had never read a book that matched the title in my life this much. That's exactly how it feels. It feels like you want to scream, but you physically cannot. Cows by Matthew Stokoe. Your mother's corpse, chopped up in pieces, laying about the house as, a cadaver does. Your girlfriend is a vegetable. Your mother just, randomly at the dinner table tells you stories of how she pleasures herself with chicken necks that she later cooks for you for dinner. Also, there's a baby nailed to the wall. That's Cows by Matthew Stokoe. Literally one of the most horrible books that I have ever read in my entire life. It genuinely made me want to, fillet myself alive. This is a steam splatter punk horror fiction following Stephen, who works at the slaughterhouse and has a very interesting life. From the slaughterhouse going back to his home, literally everything about this is disgusting. The relationship with his mother is disgusting. Every word uttered by his mother is disgusting. Everything he takes in, get it, is also very fucking disgusting. Everything that happens around him is disgusting. But wait, there is more. One day, out of the blue, my dude goes into a drain and meets a cow. And the cow starts talking to him. That was the best part of the entire book. Everything else made me want to die. This is the most systemically disgusting one. The picture that it paints is vile. It's so well done that it just screams into your psyche. It's not just words that you're reading. It's something you can smell, and it's something you can see, and it's making my eyes tear up. I don't want to talk about this anymore. The Cellar by Natasha Preston. This is probably my favorite one out of the entire list. I loved this book. This was the first book that I've read that made me physically clench my soul and wanting to take a step back and just having to remind myself that I'm reading. I'm at home and I'm safe and I'm reading multiple times. You're following Summer, who is a teenager. One day she goes out late and she hears someone calling her by the name Lily, questionably, and she goes, "No, I'm not Lily, you're mistaken." And he goes, "You are Lily." He comes out of the shadow and we have an image of this man who is older than her and stronger than her. After the introduction of this perpetrator, he grabs Summer and takes her away to his home, where we meet his other flowers. After a while, we learn that Clover has a severe compulsive disorder and is freakish when it comes to cleanliness and anything like that. And the way we understand that is so freaking scary. It made me want to protect my non-existent child. The POV of the book goes back and forth between Summer and Clover, and it's insane seeing how well done that is. It does not feel at all like just one person sat and wrote this. It feels like it's an actual journal entries, especially the Clover part. I absolutely remember loving those parts so much, and it highlighted such an important issue and in such an incredibly well done way and such an approachable way. Dead Inside by Chandler Morrison. Out of the entire list, this one probably had the award for the most disturbing scene. Not book, scene. The book follows a young just an upcoming entrepreneur, you know. He's a security guard that works at the hospital, specifically at the morgue. Yeah, that's what it is. Sorry. However, that's not even like the worst part of it. The worst part is that one day he meets someone. This dude is so anti-love, and you know, I'm alone, I'm never gonna meet someone, I don't want to meet someone, I just want my dead bitches. Okay? I just want to sneak into the morgue, just get me a cold one, you know, get me a stiff one. Literally. Until one day he meets someone, a doctor that works in the maternity part of the hospital. Hers is insane. Her appetite is not normal. The description of the book says when they meet, they shatter societal norms. It makes it seem like a coming of age book. It's horrible. It's absolutely horrid. Like it's cannibalism, and it's necrophilia, and it's cadaver abuse. Yeah, I found it freaking fascinating. I'm interested in anything psychological, and having a this kind of view when it comes to these things. Because of the way that it's written, I liked that aspect. I left the most important book in this list to finish off, and that is Any Man by Amber Tamblyn. It highlights an issue that is so ignored and disregarded. It speaks all about the sexual abuse of men and how society treats it via iterating multiple accounts and multiple POVs of multiple people, multiple men being abused from one perpetrator, and how the media views it and how the victims of these accounts go through that and go through the attack of the media and how people view it and how it differs from one person to another. I thought it was so freaking important. I loved it for that reason. I had first-hand experience while talking to people, a first-hand experience of me highlighting this issue and them literally telling me, oh, it's not abuse though, because men can't, you know, get it is. The fuck? How manipulated it is by the media, how ignored it is by the police force. And I understand that not everyone does that, but the majority does it, and the majority is enough. Enough people do it for it to become such a grand issue. Have a few different POVs of a few different men that got assaulted in different ways. They all cope with it differently, and some of them don't survive the aftermath. And it's absolutely brutal, but it's so honest and so realistic. It highlights the absolute horror, in my opinion, of the lack of empathy that we as people have towards these things. And it also highlights how societal norms have helped people like this in the continuation of their visceral endeavors. Go ahead and let me know if the most disgusting books and the most weirdest or thrilling or just shocking books that you've ever read in your entire life, and I'll check them out for sure. If you read any of these books, I'm sorry, okay? I love you. See you next video.